Good afternoon, everyone. This is Deanna Laird with Accounting Fly, and I'm here with you today to continue our webinar series that we have, giving different pieces of advice and information and things that we think are important for you to consider when you are thinking about different approaches to your accounting career or different options, particularly related to today's topic, and even just on how to be most effective when you're in a recruiting situation or a professional situation, how to be successful at work, a variety of topics that we cover in our webinar series. So we're glad that you're here with us today on this career options webinar. Take a look at some of our other webinars that we have. You might find them interesting as well. You can see past ones on our YouTube channel, and I'll even mention some specifically during our discussion today, so you can kind of take a look at any of those that look interesting to you. And if you got notification about this webinar today, hopefully you're on our mailing list, and you'll be notified in the future about which ones we have coming up. So join when you can. We welcome you. We're always excited to have you here with us, just like we are today. I also want to remind you about the Accounting Fly site. So your participation with us today is specifically for our webinar series, but we also have some great connections with accounting firms directly through the accountingfly.com site. So take a look there if you are in the job search. We work with a network of firms across the U.S. We have lots of entry-level postings, internship postings, experience postings. They're across the board, and really matching it with a variety of different backgrounds and interests in career options. So take a look there if that's something that might fit your needs, and you can see what we have to expose you to, and it might be some firms that you haven't heard about. So it's a good way to expand your your options. There's a lot of different firms available, and a lot of different firms that are really searching for talent. And we'll even talk a little bit about the demand for talent. All right. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself as a background, so you know a little bit about me, and this may help you to post some of your questions. Just if you have questions regarding the recruiting process, that's right up my alley. I've had many years in the recruiting area, both for client service work, PwC, and in the consulting industry and IBM, across the board. Also client service work and through their headquarters function, accounting and finance and technical roles. So, but kind of my, I guess, expertise and functional areas is recruiting. So I like to work with candidates to give them a perspective from a hiring company, a hiring entity, what they should keep in mind, hopefully helping them be more successful. So keep that in mind when you are thinking about questions that you may want to pose. And after this webinar, you'll also get a survey that will ask you about potential future topics that you'd like me to talk about. So feel free to mention anything that you think may be of value to you. Okay. I have, you can see my education. I like to share schools. I know that often that's a common, common topic area. Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to school? So I thought I'd share my school with you. I got my undergrad at Baylor, and then I got an MBA at Vanderbilt. And at Vanderbilt is where I had started directing my career around organization management and kind of the people topics, in which it ultimately landed me in this area of helping people with their careers. And then lastly, and of utmost importance to me is my family. You can see my 3 kids there. I got a mom of 3, great, wonderful kids that keep me hopping all the time. And they're just great. So they're what really drive me and give me a lot of purpose for what I do. So hopefully that's interesting to you. It's nice to know a little bit about people. So let's talk about the career industry that you're entering. And I got to say, you have great timing. Right now in the accounting industry, talent is in high demand. And it's just a great place to be right now for when you think about career opportunities. There's a lot of, I guess, increasing demand from accounting firms and also from corporations. Basically, a lot of things are changing in the industry that requires new expertise, and certainly an increased attention to adherence to laws and correct principles and so forth. So there's high demand. And that translates into, think back to your basic economics, supply and demand, right? It creates an increasing demand on the supply. So, and you're part of that supply. So you have very good timing. If you're soon to graduate or in the market for a job now, it's a really, really good time. But having said that, even if it's a good time from an employee standpoint or from an employment market for those looking for jobs, there are still some common frustrations. And, the Big Four, I think, is commonly recognized and known as providing a lot of really, really good options. And it's true. They do. They're terrific, terrific places to get experience and to work, but sometimes they are hard to access. So they're so well known, but if you don't have access to them, that can lead to some frustration of, well, what do I do? It seems like they're the only game in town, but I cannot get to talk with them. And that can be a bit depressing. But you do know that there are some certain techniques to try to access them, and then also there are alternatives beyond them too. So don't get too discouraged. If you're on campus now, some schools have a very robust process for bringing firms to campus through career fairs or information sessions. Other schools, maybe not so robust. But, the reality of it is, especially when you think specifically about accounting, there are just a lot of accounting firms that don't visit campus. So that's just something to, keep in mind. How in the world do you connect with them, right? We'll talk a little bit about them. You may have a specific geography preference. If you want to be in a certain city, it could be the city you grew up in, could be a city that you definitely didn't grow up in, or you want something different, something new, but something very specific. That of course narrows your search down, and you have to then figure out what are the opportunities directly there. And that can be more difficult, but it doesn't mean that it's not doable, and there are likely options there if you know how to find them and if you know how to get connected. And then the recruiting process itself. Let's say you have a connection, or at least you have knowledge of someone hiring, and you start the process, you apply, you never hear back. I bet that's happened to many of you on this call. And here's someone, as you know now, my background, I've been a part of that process, and the interesting news is that internally in companies, it's a very frustrating process as well about how do we most effectively communicate with candidates. It's not that companies don't want to have effective communication or efficient or timely or accurate communication. It is a very difficult process to manage. That's not an excuse, it's just a reality, right? So, and it is a reality that you as a candidate unfortunately face. I think companies are trying to get better at it, but right now you may reach out, you don't hear anything, so what do you do, right? And that kind of leads into this last bullet point, that it can be really hard to find the right job for you. So hopefully we'll talk about some things to keep in mind that will help you in your effort to find the right career option and career path for you. Okay, let's go back to that comment I made though. Demand is high, so keep that in mind, okay? If you start to get some frustrations, remember that there is demand out there. It may not come on your doorstep right away, but it's there. You can find it, all right? About 60,000 graduates in accounting annually, And that's a lot, right? So that kind of helps to go meet some of that demand. But there's still plenty of opportunity out there. And one thing really important to keep in mind is, the Big Four, we talked about the high recognition of the Big Four opportunities. That is, very often one of the, first things, or at least commonly talked about things when people talk about career opportunities in accounting. And they do hire a lot. Okay, and like I mentioned before, they're great places to work. But even with the influence of the Big Four, look at this. They only hire about a third of undergrads every year. So that is a lot, but it still leaves the majority of those graduating with the need to find an opportunity elsewhere. All right. So remember that. Look at the Big Four if it's a good fit for you. Though also know about your alternatives so that, one, and most importantly, you can make the right decision for yourself, but also you have different options depending on which ones work out for you, okay? And we have found that often this information is not known, that so many other roles and job opportunities are needed to place all of those who are graduating and available every year. And if you're an experienced hire, all of those that are placed and needed to be hired in other opportunities beyond the Big Four. So you need to know what options you have. All right. So our goal today is to become aware of that. Let's take a look at this summary page. We'll go and talk a little bit about each of these bullets on subsequent pages, but right here, just as a summary, Big Four and top 20 accounting firms, already talked a lot about them, or enough probably at least, and again, assuming you've been introduced to them as well. Certainly good options, all right, but they can't be the only answer, all right? Regional firms. So these are mid-sized firms, obviously by the name of them, have a regional influence, and there are about 300 of them across the U.S., so a pretty good number, right? And then when you look at small firms, obviously smaller, and look at that number though, about 5,000 of them across the U.S. I mean, just a large number, smaller firms. They, just due to their size, will hire fewer people per firm in comparison, certainly with the Big Four. But when you're thinking about sheer volume of opportunity, that is significant. Likewise, in industry, so think of your corporations, okay, your companies that are in the town that you live in, or the town that you're going to school in. They have an accounting department or a finance department, and there you have a few thousand of them that could be hiring, have hiring needs for people with accounting backgrounds. Government entities can really provide some very interesting opportunities. And actually some, they can hire quite a large number. I think that commonly when we think of government opportunities, we automatically start thinking about federal roles or federal agencies like the IRS, SEC, and those are great. But don't forget about state agencies, your city governments, local governments as well. They can be some good options to consider too. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is nonprofit organizations. Look at the number there, about 1.2 million in the U.S. All right, now this covers a wide variety of types of organizations. You can see listed here: hospitals, schools, etc. But wow, what a number, right? Okay, so hopefully all these numbers will help you know that there are a lot of different things to learn about, think about, and also to that really translates into a lot of opportunities that you can match up with what you want in your career, what you want in your personal life. Okay, when you're thinking about these different opportunities, these are some things that typically become very important in someone's evaluation of what's right for them. All right, so first off, the work. I mean, in your career, what is it that you really want to focus on? Is it tax? Is it audit? You can decide. Usually people might have a preference or enjoy working on something more so than the alternative. So, kind of think about that and figure out what's applicable to you. Another thing around day-to-day activities is the environment. Client service work, where you're on perhaps teams that are assigned to a client. You may be traveling a lot, going to their work location, working with team members from the client and also team members from your own firm. You might like internal accounting, where it's more location-based. Travel may not be as much of a requirement or as much of an aspect of the job. You might be with people on an ongoing basis, or you might be with people where the teams change every 3 to 6 months. All those things can be different aspects of your job. All of them fit and appeal to different types of people. So figure out what's important for you. And then on industry focus or breadth. If there's some industries or one industry in particular that you have a particular passion about, there could be an opportunity for you to develop a career in that industry. And how much fun would that be, right? So think about an aspect around that. I'll just mention like sports, right, or the automobile industry. If you have passions that match up with those, you can basically bring personal interests, hobbies to your work life, and it can really bring a new level of interest to your day-to-day work. Location. So I think this is a big one, because many times, you might want to live in a particular city or a particular place, but a firm that maybe is coming to your campus, they're not hiring there, or if you're working in one location and you need to move to another location, how do you get connected and figure out, someone that's hiring and where you're going? So decide where you want to work, maybe even where you want to live and where you maybe even need to live, and then set a plan and look at your options based upon that. And don't assume that just because you want to live somewhere that there are not opportunities, or vice versa, that because of some opportunities you're aware of now and they don't recruit where you want to live, don't assume that you cannot live where you want to, okay? You might have to do the legwork to make it happen. Another aspect under location that is very important is travel. Travel, there will be different amounts of travel associated with different types of positions. All right, it's really important to understand the percentage of travel that would be expected of you and of anybody in the job that you're looking at. And then you need to think about, okay, how much travel is acceptable to me? Some client service roles, you'll be traveling and away from your home base for just about the whole week, and that can be great for some people. I know some people love it. It's a terrific way to go to other cities that they wouldn't probably go to otherwise. Or even if it's a city that they want to travel to, they can do this as a business trip, and much more cost effective to go to a place on a business trip than personal trip, right? And hopefully you'll have a little bit of time to explore the city at night, or so you can get to know the city a little bit. On the other hand, for whatever reason, some people just don't want to travel or wouldn't meet with some other needs in their life. So if you take a job where travel is expected and that doesn't match with your life, that becomes a very stressful situation, okay? In fact, in my personal experience and client service work, travel is the #1 reason why people decide to leave the role that they're in, okay? And there's significant turnover in some of these positions. And again, travel has been, my experience, the #1 reason. Probably in many people's experience, if it's not #1, it's very high reason. So try to get that aspect right, okay? And then lastly, career path. There are going to be different pathways and also times along the path to meet your ultimate career goals. So think about what you want to ultimately be, okay, or not be, right? And think about your timeline. And those aspects can play into what choices you might have. The comment down here at the bottom of intern. I'm just a personal believer that internships are just terrific opportunities, and for a few reasons. But one of the very, very important reasons, I think, is that it's a great way for someone to get a feel for what a job is like, what an industry is like, and what a company is like, okay? So, just a job, and what I mean by job, I mean kind of the position. If it's a public accounting position versus an internal accounting position, you get a flavor for the, for the reality of that type of job. And then, of course, you'd be exposed to whatever company you're interning for, the culture, the work teams, and what it would be like to work specifically there. So it's just it just helps you make a more informed decision of what's right or even what's not right for you. Okay? So take advantage of that if you can. All right, we'll run through these different options, and starting with the Big Four. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here since, again, the presumption is that you probably already know a whole lot about them. But just as an overview, very prestigious work. Building good experience is something that will be an aspect of working for the Big Four. You'll be able to, probably because of the size, meet a large number of people, and then your experience that you build will be recognized by other firms or other companies down the road. Okay, from a global opportunity perspective, obviously, again, because of the size, the clients of Big Fours very likely could be global businesses as well. So that can translate into sometimes travel, and then sometimes it might just, even if it's not travel, it could be exposure around the global considerations of a client, and even working virtually with global teams, and that's pretty cool. As the team structure in a Big Four, it's important to recognize that they're often based on hierarchy. So what that means is, you come in and you're hired for a specific role, and for that role, or with that role, certain responsibilities and tasks are expected of that. And you would need to play your role. Other people will play their role, and it all comes together in a smooth working machine, right? Your expansion of responsibilities, leadership responsibilities will come with time as you progress up into different roles. So it's pretty structured, in other words. Okay. At the Big Four, travel, a lot of travel is often an aspect of the roles. And as we talked about on the previous screens, travel is a really important consideration for you to think about on if it's right for you. It may be perfect for you. It may be something that you really, really want, and that's great. It may not be something that you want. You should be honest and try to figure that out, just to make sure that you're happy and it fits with your life. Okay. An aspect of the Big Four could be tied with this high travel, but there's an important aspect is to keep in mind, or at least realize, that there is large turnover. Look at that, 70% across a 3-year span. So a lot of people leave after 2 to 3 years. They've developed some terrific experience, and they can use that experience to take them on to another opportunity. But something wasn't right. That may have been the plan from the start, recognizing that first couple years of experience will be highly valuable. It also may be a symptom of getting into the Big Four and realizing this isn't right for me, and needing to make a move. Okay, so again, this is just a reality, a fact to be aware of. I mentioned that we have other webinars talking about different topics. So this comment at the bottom in the blue about an additional resource, is referencing another webinar that we have, and it's called the Right Fit webinar that Deloitte hosted for us and presented for us. So that is available out on our YouTube channel, which is YouTube College Frog Get Hired. So if you want to send me a request for that link, and I'll be referencing some other webinars as well, I'll send you the actual links to these webinars so that you can access them directly. And this is really a good one too, that talks about what it's like at a Big Four. Okay, regional firms. So we saw the numbers before, a few hundred across the U.S. And regional firms, although they're not as big as the Big Four or the top 20, they're really pretty large in and of themselves, and very respected, very prestigious. They have obviously a foothold in a regional area, right? And so they bring a lot of great local value. But you know, that value and prestige will go beyond just the local reputation. Okay, so this can be some terrific experience. Typically at regional firms, the exposure directly to clients could be more than what you would be afforded at Big Four and some of the top size firms. Okay, also more exposure to the full accounting spectrum. We talked about the structure, the high structure on how work is approached. Here, that spectrum will be expanded or could be expanded to where you might learn about a few broader tasks and have exposure to broader accounting considerations and learning. So that is one way to help you develop more broadly, which is a good value to you when you're thinking about your long-term career. And then at these firms, there's really strong long-term career opportunities. They're good, solid firms with growth, have typically career paths where you can lead up and move into either management or lead type positions on into where you have a very healthy and very strong career within the firm. Okay. We have a webinar talking about life and roles in regional and mid-market firms, and it's called The Life in a Mid-Market Firm. Again, if you would like me to send you that link directly, just send a comment in the questions panel and let me know that, and I will be happy to get that to you. All right, let's talk about these small firms. As we mentioned, thousands of them, so there's lots of opportunities at small firms and lots of chances to find a small firm that could be your perfect fit. Look at that, one in every city. I mean, it makes sense, right? They're going to have a great chance of meeting your geographic needs. If you have that desire to live in a specific location, then this could be a great opportunity for you to match up that desire with your career. Another really, really interesting aspect about small firms is something that's, of the essence now, right? And it offers a unique opportunity to people who join small firms around this time. So 75% of the partners are going to be retiring soon, right? What that means is, in small firms, if the partners are interested in having, a plan for the firms to continue on successfully, even after they have, they need to leave. And on the horizon of 8 years, that's not a very long time. It may seem like a long time, but really, it's not. And these partners are in a position where they need to figure out, who do I need to groom and grow? Who's going to run this firm when I want to retire? So it opens up an opportunity for those entering the profession or wanting to change their roles in the profession, that there's going to be leadership, ownership opportunities at a very unique level over the next 10 years or so. Okay, so if you want a fast path to running a firm, this may be the perfect fit for you. All right, and again, it's some very short order when that can happen. And with that brings some potential just great financial rewards. So that's really pretty exciting when you think about it. Again, from a timing of lots of opportunities in accounting, but also when you match up this opportunity that's waiting on the horizon for a changeover in leadership and ownership at small firms. It's just so unique, and this is something that you can really position yourself to take advantage of this now, or when you're making some moves over the next year or so that you're the right person that can really benefit from these circumstances. Okay. Now, one thing also about small firms that it's important to realize that think about a smaller entity. It probably makes sense to you that some of the, I guess, benefits or aspects of resources are a bit more limited. They're on a smaller scale, representative, and really reflecting, I guess, a smaller size firm. So that can impact training. Okay. Now there can certainly be different circumstances at different firms, but in general, one thing to think about or to look at if you're considering a small firm is to think about what kind of training is offered. Okay. It could be and likely that it will be less formal than, say, a larger firm, certainly than probably a big four firm where a lot of resources are put into training. There may even be emphasis where there's a lot of training that's expected to be received on the job, which, by the way, is fantastic training. Okay, it really puts the knowledge to, I guess, the grindstone, right, where you're applying what you're learning, or you're learning as you're doing, and it's a great way to learn and also to make it come true at the same time. Okay, so even if the training is less formal, that doesn't mean it's less effective. It can be just effective, but it would be different, and it's something to recognize and make sure that you're ready for that, and it's a fit for you in considering a small firm. Now, another important thing about small firms, and when we're talking about the recruiting process, okay, and this is from a student perspective, obviously, because the bullet here is about visiting campus. If you've been taking advantage of your campus recruitment cycle with career fairs and meeting with companies, either to talk with them or to interview with them on campus, small firms just don't typically visit campus as much. Maybe the local firms in your city, wherever your school is, they could visit your campus, but what about the firm that's 3 hours away? Or if you're going to school in one state and you want to live, in another state, the chance of a small firm visiting where you're going to school is very low. All right. I mean, the reality of it is that visiting and traveling, really for all firms, whether they're large or small, it's just expensive, and it also takes a lot of resources. So, from my experience, all companies are trying to reduce their budgets and expenses, and there does seem to be a movement of overall reduction of schools that are being visited in support of that reduced budget, but also recognizing that a lot of recruitment activity can occur virtually. Okay, so that's a positive for you. You might have to reach out, be proactive to these firms if they're not showing up directly on your campus or wherever you're located. But you do have an opportunity and a forum to meet with them, simply through the internet. Connecting with them via their website. You can try to find contacts with them on LinkedIn and start a conversation. Look to see what opportunities they have and seeing if there's a fit for you. Okay, so be proactive and don't shy away from reaching out to them if you need to. The webinar I've referenced here, the Great American Accounting Opportunity, is directly related to that second bullet of the significant percentage of partners that are retiring, and really what that means, from a succession planning of these firms and ownership opportunities for new people coming in. So that's a really interesting webinar, and you can hear a little bit more detail about, what's behind that movement and that, a pending need that's down the road. Okay, so companies, corporations, here too, thousands of opportunities, and in every city there's a company, right? There are very, very large companies, global companies that offer really hire a lot of people per year. They're very small companies. So when we think about how we talked about the different sizes, specifically amongst accounting firms, you can kind of translate those same comments to corporations, and knowing that there are very large corporations and there are very small companies, and the similar aspects apply. There are, in other words, not all large companies are in every city, but in every city there will be at least some companies, right? So think about your geographic needs. And there, as far as your type of work, there's a variety of different options of the type of work in daily activities that you could do. You might really enjoy auditing. Well, internal auditing on an internal control team is great opportunity at a corporation, right? You may be part of the tax department. Also, think about if some companies hire under their finance department, and they hire accounting majors into that area. So you might need to think a little differently than just looking for accounting roles or accounting departments. You may think about, this company may term this or hire under their finance department, but this is where they hire the accounting background. Okay, you can get on corporate management teams, and just a pretty good variety of options here. And that also means that there's multiple career paths, not just within the accounting area. I think one particularly interesting aspect about corporate roles and corporate opportunities is that, let's say that you join the accounting team in a finance department at a company. Well, you're likely going to work and get to know a variety of people in that company, not all in the accounting area and not all in the finance area. You will probably work with people in the marketing area and product development and in the IT area. Just name it. All the different departments that are needed to make that company successful. Well, that's going to expand your knowledge. It's going to expand your network. It'll expose you to a large range of different possible types of work, and those can, then lead to different potential career paths. So, this offers a good variety of different things to learn about and even drive your career within a corporate environment. Okay. The industry focus, I think before what I mentioned, let's see, sports and automobiles, it's just those are two that I've heard mentioned frequently, I guess. You could think of healthcare. I mean, whatever area that you may have a particular interest in, you could find a company that does business, that survives in that industry. And then your day-to-day work could be around that passion of yours. And as I mentioned before, I mean, what a great thing to do, I think, of going to work every day, doing what you like to do, accounting work, but also doing it, in an area that you really find fun and enjoyable. And I think that's one of the keys to success, is really having a passion about what you do. If you have a passion about what you do, you're going to put a lot of energy into it just naturally. You're going to enjoy it, and that's really breeds success. Okay. On this bullet about corporations and industry companies being known for offering a better quality of life in general, that is true. And a lot of this might be, or a lot of this is around those travel aspects and even the seasonal aspects, say if you're in tax, that are well known in the accounting industry. I do want to caution, though, that it's not a guarantee that a role in a corporation will offer a better quality of life. This is something to really, find out about and determine the culture and the typical, work-life balance that is offered and supported by the company. Okay. Training can be very structured, consistently given, and even expected at some companies, and it can be, not at other companies. I think a lot of times this does match up with the size of the company, and it's again something to think about and to find out about what the training plan is and the training options are that are provided. Okay. And then from a recruiting standpoint, again, here, some companies will visit your campus if you're in school, and many do not. I mean, with thousands of companies, obviously thousands don't visit every school, right? So you have the opportunity to work virtually. You have the opportunity to make that first contact if needed, find out what they're doing. So just don't shy away from that. Okay, government entities are at not just the federal level, as we talked about, but also at the state and local level. So again, on a geographic basis, depending on what you want, you can look into what your options are. Okay, a lot of the federal opportunities are in Washington D.C., but not all of them. So understand that you can have opportunities with the federal government, and if you don't want to live in D.C., that doesn't mean that you can't pursue an opportunity there. All right. So just look at what matches up with where you want to be. It's probably fairly well known and with reputation, the government offering stability, and I think that's true, generally true. It certainly doesn't mean that you don't have to worry about your quality of work or that you don't have to be concerned about doing well. But if you perform well, then the reality of pending layoffs or things like that are less likely, and at the government level than maybe independent companies. Okay, so that's a real strong benefit and a nice aspect, given the reality that sometimes layoffs occur and they're totally at the disadvantage and out of control of the employee, regardless of quality of work. So that's really, the stability is a nice aspect of government work. Benefits as well are typically really strong, from your insurance plans for your health and retirement planning, vacation, and so forth. So often in comparison, what the government offers compared to what companies offer and firms offer, even when firms or companies have strong benefits packages, the government is often at least right in line, even if not better. So that's a nice aspect. Now, growth may be slow, though, and that's partly could be because bureaucracy is alive and well and real, right? So, it might be a little bit harder to perhaps enact change or grow, okay, and with a lot of, in some cases, maybe procedures, so that, that's, if a fast-paced environment is something that you're looking for, or where you're looking for a lot of change, this may not be the right fit for you. Okay. And then from a recruiting standpoint, similar to what I mentioned with the companies and corporations, some agencies will be able to visit campus, and there's some will not. So, once again, you'll need to be ready to seek out what the options are and be proactive. Nonprofits are really interesting. Remember the number, over 1 million nonprofit entities in the U.S. Now, they're not all of them are hiring, of course. Okay, so at any given time, a different number will be hiring, but they pose a tremendous opportunity, right? And also taking the reference about if you have a passion about a specific industry, that thought applies here too. If you have a passion about a specific cause, this could be a great way to dedicate and help out in a cause that you think is really, really important while you're also doing your work and doing your job. Okay, so it's a nice way to concentrate, devote time, devote your efforts to something that's really important to you. Now, if you do have this tie to the cause, that can make the work great and really motivating. If there are difficulties, it could be very stressful, right? Let's say that you're under pressure for a timeline, and you're just like, oh, I just got to get this done. I'm worried something's not going right. Well, then you could feel even more stressed because you don't want anything negative to impact that cause. So there's could be a particular positive aspect to it, but you might feel a bit more tied on, and emotional about things on the other side as well. Okay. Potential positions will depend upon the size of the organization. Some of the organizations are very small. The nonprofits, they have to watch the budget and such, and so there just won't be some positions at some organizations. So that's just something that you have to understand, not only what your role would be and perhaps your breadth of responsibilities, but also what other types of opportunities that you would have within the same organization. What would be your growth opportunity? It may be great, or it may be a bit limited because of the size of the organization. And many of them are small. Okay, so just be realistic about what not only you would be doing on a day-to-day basis, but also what your career path within the organization would potentially be. Talking about bureaucracy in the government opportunities, bureaucracy is typically or could be high here within nonprofit, and certainly from a recruiting standpoint, few nonprofits are usually able to visit campus. So you'll have to reach out and you'll have to seek out opportunities in many cases. Okay, so as a recap, it's a great time, to be an accounting student. And for those of you with, professional experience now, you've already completed your education, it's a great time to be an accounting professional, period, right? The demand is really high, and your skills are obviously specialized, and the specialization in accounting is highly valued, highly needed, required even. So that's all positive, great for you. When you're thinking about what path you should go on, trying to find a job, though, you do need to be aggressive in learning about your options and also connecting with firms. Okay, this is not a time to be shy. You're trying to find the right fit for you, and it's not all selfish, because a happy employee is what a firm wants or what a company wants. That's the most valuable employee. So you want to find the right connection, and whoever's hiring you or not hiring you wants to find the right connection as well for themselves, and that's what creates a valuable and productive relationship. Use your school resources for sure. Maximize the opportunities through your career services, whether it's the career fairs, whatever events they have online, the postings in their office, or through the career services system. Utilize your professors. Take advantage of everything that's afforded you on campus, but don't leave it just at that. You can see there's a variety of opportunities, and we've heard loud and clear that often, even at really large schools, we know that often all these options just are not known or they're not talked about. So make sure that you're knowledgeable. Don't rely upon what is just the common knowledge. Remember what we've talked about here, and go and search. You can find a lot, as you know. I mean, my gosh, y'all look for information online all the time. Well, you look for your career information online as well. So really supplement what you have available at your fingertips on campus and what you have available at your fingertips online, and you'll be really setting yourself up well. And then I'm just going to mention interning again, or if it's an externship, short-term, long-term, whatever you can do, whatever you can fit into your schedule. I truly feel that it will be a benefit that you'll look back upon and say, okay, you'll probably reflect upon your experience and really value what you learned there. Either it was great and you know that that's the type of company you want to work for. You may even get a full-time job offer out of it for after you graduate. Perfect. Or even if you learn that it's not the right opportunity for you, even if that can be a little disappointing at the time, that's extremely valuable for you to help you make the right decision when you're making kind of a longer-term employment decision. So really, really valuable. Okay. Here are just some more resources that I'd like you to let me know if you want me to send you some of these. We have a Career Options ebook which goes over some of this information. I'd be happy to send it to you so that you can have it as a good resource. With this weekly webinar series, keep an eye out for the other information and other topic areas that we're going to be presenting every Thursday, typically, okay? And, you may find some other things that are of interest to you. Our blog is a very active blog, so here's the address for it. And it's really exciting. I'm really excited about it because we're making some changes. It's going to be even, more valuable and beneficial, we plan, in the short term. So keep an eye out on it as well. And then we have lots of recorded webinars, as I mentioned. Here are some from our recent Meet the Firms Week. Many of you may have participated in at least some of these. We have all of them recorded. They're all on our YouTube channel. And if you let me know any of them that you are particularly interested in, I'll send you the link, okay? The last thing is, you see our website down at the bottom. Don't forget about that website as a good resource. We talked about the various options you have today in your accounting career, and also making sure that you're expansive in your different methods of looking for a job, being proactive, being aggressive. So you can use our site to help you. Add it to your toolkit. Look for jobs there. Sign up. And make your resume available to firms that are looking for people. They may even find you, right? How great would that be? If the firms are aggressive and they find you and it's the perfect fit. So make sure you take a look there and sign up. And with that, hopefully you will, be well prepared, broadly make the right decisions on what's the right fit for you, and really find some good success. So thank you very much. We'll go to questions and answers now, and And then just as a reminder, the link to this recording will be made available to you in about a week or so. So just keep an eye out for that.